Welcome to the Nourish You Podcast, where we question the traditional model of dieting and nutrition and focus on choice, fun, and health for the whole mind, body, and spirit. I'm Jana Maurer, a non-traditional registered dietitian and well-being expert, and I want to challenge you to take 2% of your day today, listen to this episode, and make this your health win for the day. Pop in your earbuds, strap on your walking shoes, or pour a big glass of wine, whatever you need for today, and tune out the world as much as you can for the next 30 minutes, and let's fill up your cup. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Nourish You Podcast. Amanda is back with us for the month of August. Amanda and I have teamed up to be able to provide a space to talk about topics that impact our health and wellness journey far beyond the number on the scale and far beyond the food that we consume. These are the topics that we have found really impact not only our lives, but also our clients' lives, and the areas that we really want to dive into and make sure that we have conversations around to really be able to support you being successful in your health journey far beyond 30-day fixes. So Amanda, I am so happy to have you back. Thank you so much for your dedication and your time to the podcast.
For sure. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So today we're going to dive into a couple of things, but I want to start with something that you shared with me when we were when we were talking with each other of what we wanted to share with individuals. And you said something pretty powerful that I don't think, it's certainly in the space of dietetics maybe, but as we're sharing this with our clients, you said, we don't have a weight loss problem. We have a weight regain problem. Can you tell me more about your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially here in America, I feel like, honestly, a lot of my clients come and they have different ways that they resonate with weight loss. Somebody might really resonate with intermittent fasting. Someone else may really resonate with a low carbohydrate approach. Somebody else may, resonate with just more mindful and intuitive eating concepts. And so, it's important that we honor that, because truly, I feel like there are a multitude of diets or healthy ways that we can achieve weight loss as long as we can sustain them. The problem is, right, that the key word, sustain them, right? We actually can't eat that way for a longer period of time. And then we can't really normalize that, right? What does it look like to achieve that type of eating plan in everyday life? Mm-hmm. Not 3 months from now, 6 months from now, but a year from now, 2, 3, 4, 5, and beyond years. We're talking about longevity here. And so that's where it comes in, that we engage in these different ways of weight loss, and that approach doesn't resonate with us long term, and therefore we gain the weight back. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's one major thing. And I think the second major thing is mindset, which I know that we are always touching on. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our episodes really have been around that, right? It's not just an eat this, don't eat that approach with nutrition. It has to be about the mental and emotional aspect of it as well. It's all of those things if we want to achieve long-term results and success. It's that we are not in the game long-term, mind-wise, right? Mm-hmm. Right. It's kind of like, right. And that's that mentality around diets. And we have to get away from that. We can't just take a healthy approach to weight loss and actually do the things like check off the boxes without taking like a healthy mindset approach to weight loss. We have to engage in all those things. So those are the two main things that I see, the reasons why we have yo-yo dieting. Right? We have weight loss and regain. And normally when we're seeing regain, at least I do with my clients, it's not just regaining the weight that they have lost. It's also plus more.
Right. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I think this goes into the idea that like nutrition is an ends to a mean, right? Like, okay, we're going to be doing we'll be focused on this for the next 3 to 6 months. And then after then we get to give it up. But this is actually something like in that foundational aspect of this is something you are committed to for the rest of your life. And that's
Right.
why you have to stay so realistic. I always call those like gut check moments. Like we're getting very real. We're just getting to understand you in all facets. And we're getting very real with yourself of saying, okay, can you really go without carbs for the rest of your life? Like that is a gut check moment. It's like, it's not like, well, yeah, I can. I can do this. I can willpower, I have the willpower and I can like just push through this because I'm super motivated. It's like, yeah, that's fantastic, but you're going to need carbs. Or like, for example, I always say this because I always like to sometimes bring my coaching clients outside of themselves and say, okay, well, I'm going to share with you one of my stories. I want to eat cake on my birthday. Like that is
For
something that
sure.
I want to do. I don't want to give up desserts and sugar and sweets and all these other things for the rest of my life because I want to celebrate my birthday with a slice of cake. And it usually gets them to chuckle and say, yeah, I do too. Right. Like, and so that's where we get really realistic with our goals of like, yes, do we need to modify how much sugar you are taking in? Likely, yes. We do need to consume carbohydrates that are, or those complex carbs and make some adjustments in moderation and all, or, overall consumption of the food. Yes. But to say no more, no more, no more, no more literally says zero amounts. And that's what trips us up is because when we start to actually consume them, even if it isn't a small amount, even if it isn't a realistic amount and you didn't overindulge, it's still noted as it was a cheat day or that was a bad meal. And then that spirals us into, well, I'm just going to give up now, right? Like I've already ruined my diet. So why not do more? It gets into that mentality. And that's oftentimes where we see the start of the weight regain process is because really it was never realistic to begin with.
Mm-hmm. I call that the realism versus extremism. So where are you living? Are we living in the world of realism? Or are we living in the world of extremism? Because we know that old thought habits, right, die hard. And that's going to be like that diet mentality come creeping back in. Somebody said to me the other day, only a few weeks into the nutrition coaching, like, so, hey, we're very green. We're just getting started. We're just laying the foundational skills, right? We're just kind of creating the awareness, really tapping into what our body's doing, what it's saying, what it's telling us. And she says to me, Amanda, you know what? This isn't working. It doesn't feel like I'm doing enough. It doesn't feel like a diet. I don't think it's working. Right. Right. Well, think about what diets feel like. Right? Extremism, right? Typically, right?
Right.
I'm forcing you to live in the world of realism, to shift those thoughts around, right? What that weight loss journey could look and feel like for you, right? And so when you're doing the things and you're thinking the things, eventually the things that you desire will come to fruition. But it doesn't happen immediately because you're not doing something extreme. Right? You're doing it more gradual.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So as you share that, Amanda, I was thinking of this coaching client of mine. She was sharing, she goes, I don't like when you use the word easy. And I said, like basically tell me about this. And she was like, I have always been taught that nothing comes easy. And so for me not to feel like this is hard, I feel like I'm not doing it right. And so that was like such a pivotal moment in the coaching experience is because it was really starting to rattle the mindset, right? Of, okay, we assume that with nutrition in particular or weight loss is it has to be so rooted in extremes. It has to be so rooted in deprivation. It has to be rooted in you, frankly, being so hungry and hangry and all these other things that come with it, that when you are told that that's not how it has to be, it's like, what? I've been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. And like, I didn't have to, like, there's some anger that starts coming up with that. And so it's always, again, going back to that mindset of like, we really have to rewire not only the mindset, but also connect that with your mood when it comes to weight loss, your actions when it comes to that, and really settle into, you're going to be doing this every single day. And that's really where the miracle comes in.
For sure. And when you said that, what first came to mind for me was that if it's not hard, we aren't doing enough. And that translates into, am I worthy enough?
Mm. Oh, can we pause on that one?
Yeah. Am I
That,
worthy enough?
yeah.
Right?
Yes. That is I mean, I never say this up front because I don't want to scare people, but the journey of weight loss or just caring for yourself as a whole is a journey of enoughness and worthiness. It really is. And then you get into, then it becomes, there's a lot of spiritual acts that come into this because you are routinely saying, I am enough, I am worthy to be able to do these things for my body. So how do we get individuals that maybe have not been taught that to really step into, you're worth this?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. Well, obviously, one is the accountability is huge. What the partnership, right? The relationship, the coaching client relationship, just that accountability. But two things that come up for me is one is feelings aren't facts, right? And so it's in this journey, it's important to acknowledge that feelings are validated. We need to validate them. We need to call them out. We need to call out what is going on. But that doesn't mean that necessarily what we are feeling is factual, is absolutely real, right? Or is that the story that we're telling ourselves? And then it becomes that we have a limiting belief that we need to work on. And where did that limiting belief come from? And so then it's going back to see where we acquired that limiting belief and really kind of rewriting that story.
But why would we be talking about this as dietitians? Right? Like, because I feel like this is something that, like, from the coaching experience, like if you were truly getting a coaching experience, not just a nutrition plan, if you were getting the coaching experience, this is where I believe that coaching, like you said earlier, transforms your life. Like, coaching is no small feat. Ideally speaking, the coach is invested in you, you're invested in the coach, you're invested in your next level. Why would we even talk about this stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I think that if diet culture never existed, I think that if truly weight loss was a result of just input versus output, in other words, calories in, calories out. If I just exercise more and eat less, I will lose weight. If the mindset work and the emotional piece, if food was an emotion, we could do that. We surely could, right? But the human body is not wired that way. And so when we fully engage and look at this from a scientific perspective, even, we can understand that we have chemical reactions going on in the body. We have dopamine, serotonin. These things are related to our gut-brain axis, right? Our second brain, our gut. And what we know is that our food choices influence our mood, and our mood influences our food choices. And those things come full circle, right? And so how can we avoid talking about our feelings and thoughts around food and experiences? If experiences are food, every event you go to is surrounded by, if you go to a wedding, it's all about the food, right? People are talking about it. Oh, this place has great, the catering is amazing here, right? You go to a picnic, there's food. You go to Sunday dinner at your parents' house, right? There's traditional things that are served. I know every Sunday, was spaghetti Sunday in the house that I grew up in. I grew up Italian, and we're talking about, all those things, right? The trigger foods, the pastas, the breads, right? The desserts, all those things, right? So that's family, it's memories, it's emotion. It's all those things. And so if those things never existed, if the body was never hardwired to connect to those feelings and thoughts, then we wouldn't, yeah, sure. We could just sell nutrition programs. We talk about macros all day, and it would be a really simple equation of calories in, calories out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And we cannot treat it that way because, and again, that's one of the reasons why we yo-yo diet.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at nutrition just as something so simple, something so easy, something we don't want to give attention to, just tell me what to eat, tell me what to do. I'll read the plan, I'll read the box, I'll eat the, ready prepared protein bars, shakes, whatever it is. Let me achieve my goal and move on with my life. Right.
Right.
Well,
right. Yeah.
What we give attention to is what grows.
Yeah. So as you were speaking, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but we know that in this podcast, sometimes we go in different directions. It is, whatever comes about. But with you saying that, do you believe that individuals can be addicted to food?
I think you can. I think clinically, food addiction must be a clinical diagnosis. There are specialists who work in this area, clinical psychologists and specialized dietitians that are very well versed in this area. I think it's a very small population compared to maybe we think, the general public believes that food addiction is much more common than it truly is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very complicated. I think it does exist. Do I think there's people walking around diagnosed with food addiction or diagnosing themselves with food addiction that aren't truly addicted to food? Absolutely. Those people are probably more disordered eating or just having a very unhealthy relationship or misguided over their lives with
Mm-hmm.
nutrition and diet.
Yeah. No, I think
I do believe it exists.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great way to say it of like, yes, there are small populations, but for the majority of people, and I would say probably for the majority of individuals that we work with, I think that that's another label that we oftentimes use to prevent us from actually getting curious about what a solution could be. It really allows us to throw up our hands and say, well, I'm just addicted to food. So, I'm not in control. And so a lot of times, like peeling that back as we get into that mindset aspect is if we really look at some of the things that we are doing, the reality is that you have much more control than you may have thought initially. And when we're really rooting you in some strong foundations, we find that addictive feeling actually goes away. You no longer feel that way because you are no longer told what and how to eat. You are taught how to eat. And now you become you are the person in the driver's seat and you know how to navigate food. That's really what we're looking for, to really pull back a lot of these labels and a lot of these limiting beliefs as it relates to the food journey, so that you know that you are in control of food. You have that available to you. I agree, there is a small population that has some things that are going on and definitely needs some support with. But I would say that the majority of individuals that are engaging in those fad diets, those very restrictive diets, are not addicted to food. They literally just need to eat food, right? They need that nourishment. They need those calories. And as they start giving their body that, they no longer feel the extreme desire to have certain foods.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. There's a little exercise, a mindful exercise that I do with some of my clients who are struggling with control. This takes me back to my Covey days, my Stephen Covey days, and training there. It's called Circle of Control versus Circle of Influence, right? And I'm sure you've heard about this and we've seen it, but have we actually done the exercise? Have we engaged in it and gone through that thought process? And let me go through it really quick, just with you. Literally, just pull out a piece of paper and draw a big circle. And in the circle, draw a smaller circle. So now you have a donut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so inside the smaller circle, we write the word control. And inside the outer circle, we write the word influence. And we take a few minutes to reflect and create awareness around the one thing that we're struggling with. What is the topic that we're struggling with, right? Is it diets? Is it overeating? Is it fear that we're not going to eat the right thing? Is it fear over not knowing how much to eat? Is it fear over social situations and peer pressure? What is coming up for that person, right? So we choose that one topic and we create awareness around it. So what are all those things about that one topic that you feel like you have complete control over? So we're going to write them all in the circle of control. Draw the arrows, write them out. What are the things around that situation that you have influence over? Not direct control, right? But you can influence it in some way. And always, after we take time to reflect, call those things out, do this exercise, we find that what is the one thing that we have control over in any situation that we can always guarantee is true? Ourselves. Right? And in every sentence that we write, everything that we call out in that circle of control, the one thing that remains is me, myself, or I in every single sentence. Right?
Right.
And so at the end of the day, how does that relate to our food journey and the choices that we're making? Right. Yeah. And that is a huge, it helps people create awareness because we realize we are no longer the role of a victim, a result of our circumstance, right? And then also we're worrying about things that we don't need to carry the weight over. And if it takes away our peace, right, then we're worrying too much. We don't want to trade, our peace. And so those are the two things. So whatever's coming up for that person, but that's an exercise sometimes I'll find myself doing any old time, right? Yeah. You could do it around food. You could do it in life. You could do it whenever. And it's so powerful because it really helps you bring things back to realism.
Right.
Reality.
Right.
Realism versus extremism.
Yeah. Hey everyone, it's Jana, and I wanted to interrupt your content real quick to tell you about something that I've been using every single day, OWYN protein drink. I've been using it for the last year now and absolutely love this product. It's been something that's been so helpful to meet my protein needs, to meet my calorie needs, and to meet my overall nutrition and performance goals. I am super picky when it comes to recommending different products or supplements because I take a whole foods-based approach. So I highly encourage you to check this out for yourself, see if you like it. I do have a discount code for you. You can click the link in the show notes below. At checkout, you can put JanaM20 to get 20% off and check it out for yourself. Now back to the episode. Well, and also realizing that you are the secret sauce to your life journey. Right. Yeah. Like it always comes back to you. And when we're really looking to create, like, if we're just going to keep it food related, if we're looking to create like the best recipe possible for our life journey, I mean, you are that secret sauce. And there are a lot of things that you can control or influence. And it's also interesting too, like if we get into the influence aspect, a lot of times that influence comes back to communication. Like what do we need to communicate in order to be able to influence that one thing? And that's just like another little side note that I noticed too, is like a lot of times, especially if we're dealing with like binge eating or emotional eating or whatnot, it's because we have difficulty communicating out our actual needs. And so once we finally have the support and the accountability and someone to talk it through, and we're able to start articulating what our body needs, even far beyond, like even from a nutritional aspect, then that anxiety, that stress starts really diminishing, and we can better navigate that situation that seems overwhelming, at least at the time.
For sure. 100%.
Cool. Okay. So we talked about, so I said that you are the, secret sauce of your own life journey, but I also like to say, like, we have to spice things up because a lot of times, actually, okay, a little funny story I'm going to share. So last week I had a wellness screening that I went to for biometric screenings for employees. And I thought, dear God, this is so boring. Like, we really have made health quite boring, whether it be like, okay, the way that you lose weight is with chicken, rice, and broccoli, right? Like just
Oh Lord, yeah.
all the time, or just like really like boring recipes, no flavor. Like a lot of
Right.
times we make health and wellness boring. And I think that is starting to I don't think, I know that that's starting to change in the online space, particularly. And just, I'll say with the dietitians that I'm around, like a lot of them are really fun and want to, just like break out of the traditional model, if you will. Why is making health boring something that can actually mess up your journey, if you will?
Yeah. Because it's not sexy enough.
Right.
You're right. Like it is just not sexy enough. Gosh, if it is not like, if we can't find that magic ticket, or that like one thing that's going to make all the difference for us, like it's got to be something we're missing, right? Like it's just not sexy enough. It's just like these foundational things, that we need to do, right? Are just so boring. We need to find something more enticing or something more sexy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think generally that the general population is always looking for that. They're always looking and they're always searching. That comes back to not feeling that level of self-confidence or that self-worth,
Mm.
right? That I can apply these foundational things and it be enough.
Yeah, good enough.
Like always wanting to look for more, always feeling like you're missing something is a direct reflection of how worthy that you actually feel as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's okay to be okay. One of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, it's okay to be okay. And it's okay to work on the foundational things because, like you said, those are the building blocks of health, right? Getting enough hydration, hydrating your cells, making sure that we're getting movement in, that we're doing things in the type of movement that helps us restore and refocus and makes us feel good about what we're doing, right? And that we think is fun, that we enjoy, right? That we keep wanting to go back to, creating things with flavor, and it's okay to have sauce and try new recipes. And like, we can do all those things. And like you said, they could be more fun, but we're still working on the foundations. It doesn't have to be like, you need to do a detox for 3 days. And these are the specific directions. And you have to drink, apple cider vinegar and cayenne pepper and lemon juice, every morning before you start your day. And that is the only way, like, right? Like, yeah, that sounds all sexy, but guess what? These things can be sexy too.
Well, and also I think it's a distraction. Like it's a distraction from actually having to sit with yourself and say like, what's working, what's not working. Like I always share like the first step in anything like I do with my coaching clients is we have to get curious. We have to get curious about like, what do you like? What do you not like? What's working? What's not working? What like personality, culture, what lifestyle do you actually want to have? Like these are all things that we have to know before we actually start making, smart goals or goals in general for you. And oftentimes these quick fixes, whatever, they're putting us in action, which I'm again, a little side note, I'm just going to plant this, and this could certainly be something to expand upon, is we are addicted to the chaos that comes with the feelings related to chronic dieting, especially if we have issues with self-worth, our value, if we've had any traumatic experiences. All of these things are so connected to being comfortable in chaos and knowing what that feels like. And when we start to detach from that and things start to feel a little bit easier and things start to feel like, oh, I'm at peace, I have joy, like this feels good. That's when we're like, holy heck, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this. Like, let's press the pause button. This is too much. So all these things come into it because that is truly how health should feel. It should feel abundant. It should feel fun. It should feel joyful. It should feel like you are confident in you. You are empowered. You feel transformed, right? Like all these things that can oftentimes be buzzwords. It's because that's how it should feel when you are really stepping into the power of your health journey. And we're not really taught that though. Like we're taught
No.
we're just taught like boredom oftentimes, like
Yeah,
in
for sure.
plans and whatnot. It just isn't, and we're not taught the lifestyle aspect.
And it's such a critical piece. And I want to go back to this. Really, you got me with this, addicted to the chaos that comes with dieting. And if I look just back on, my 20 years, in coaching people in different capacities, I look at those people with clinical addiction. And that's why we can't it doesn't matter what that addiction is, can't sit still. That's where a distraction piece comes in, because if we're doing something else, we don't have to sit with our feelings and feel them. And we don't know how to deal with those feelings. Right. And so we come back to, again, why our dietitian's talking about all this mindset work and all this mental and emotional connection to food, because everything is interconnected and interrelated, right? Dieting is chaotic. Why is that attractive to people? How can we get people to stop dieting if we don't start to understand this connection?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like the guy that you want that never wants you, right? Like, yet you still want to go after. It's like, it's all the things, right? Like it's bad for you, and yet you still can't turn away. It's really what we're, really stepping away from, of like, that has been something that you've tried 20 million times and it's not good for you. So why do you keep turning back to it?
For sure. For sure. It's like, my son was little, and I actually have used this example so much in my group programs, or just talking to one-on-one clients to talk about this relative to diets. And restriction around food. We were at my aunt's house, and she had a very expensive vase sitting there. And I said, okay, we're not going to touch anything. It's kind of like, the ground rules that we go in. You're with like a 4 or 5-year-old, and they have the mental capacity to just want to, right? Just curiosity is just, there. And so we're just, hey, we're just going to kind of stay over here. We're going to, we're going to behave ourselves and all these things. And so, if I say, don't go touch that vase, which I did, what am I thinking, right? Drawing attention to the vase. Right. Don't touch the vase. What does he do? Touch the vase, falls on the floor, shatters to pieces, right? And so, of course, then, I feel horrible and things like that. But guilt, right? Guilt sets in. Okay, can we parallel this to a food, right? Don't eat that donut. Restrict your sugars. Starting a detox this week, sugar detox, right? So restriction. Okay, and mentally, we tell ourselves we can't have that. What is the only thing in the world that we want? We want sugar. We want sugar. We want donuts. We want cake. We want ice cream. We want all of these things, right? And it's because we told ourselves we can't have it.
Right. They're bad.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And those things are bad. But it's the mindset of that. What is we cannot have is more attractive.
Yeah. Well, that gets into the idea of like being able to add things in versus things being taken away, because our brain really doesn't like to be told no, one, and we don't like to be told, like, we don't like things to be taken away from us. And I think that's why part of the reason why the pandemic was so difficult, even from a strictly weight perspective, is because there were so many things that were taken away from us that we really didn't know how to process it. And so therefore we turn to a comfort that we know, and that like some people, it could be their best, like food can be your best friend. It can be the thing that never let you down. It can taste the same every single time, right? Like you get the same hit from it every single time. It never lets you down. And so I think that was part of the reason why we really struggled during the pandemic, is because our brain was going crazy with like, you were taking so many things away from me and I don't like this. And so therefore I need an outlet. And that was food. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we are already highlighted the aspect of like extreme behaviors, but why? So, in all fairness, 30-day fixes can work. Like I know a lot of people that have lost 10, 20 pounds in 30 days on these programs. So why is our philosophy a little bit different of saying, yeah, but that's not really something that's going to work? Like, why do we really want to, as much as possible, stay away from extreme behaviors when it comes to the desire to change our weight?
I think because we're looking at the longevity, right? We're looking at what is going to be beneficial for that person in the long term,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're looking at the quality of their life.
Right.
So it's coming from a different perspective. It's not just about what can you do in these 30 days
Mm-hmm.
or which, if you can do this program for, 1 month or 3 months, right? It's well beyond that.
Right.
I mean, long term is a year, 5 years, 10 years. It's assessing where they want their life to be, how they want to look and how they want to feel. How do they want to age?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a whole another topic in itself, right? The topic of aging healthfully, but really is what that's doing is it's setting the foundation. How do we want to address our risk for chronic disease? There is so much emphasis on weight and how, carrying around so much weight increases your risk for chronic disease. And actually, everyone's talking about this and not just the quick lip, we are, obviously the diet programs are, the doctors are, everyone's talking about it. And yes, it exists. We know weight is, an issue when we're talking about raising your risk for chronic diseases. It plays a role. It's heavy on the joints, all these things we know, right? But what about yo-yo dieting? What about losing that weight and putting it back on? What risk is that?
Right.
Because we know that's taxing on your blood vessels, your nerves, your joints, your internal organs, your heart, right? And so what our goal is to minimize the stress that dieting has on the body.
Right.
That is what our perspective as dietitians, right? And lifestyle coaches and coaches that provide a well-rounded and whole body experience versus just a weight loss program or, a basic nutrition program, right? It's assessing that person's ability to lose weight over time and maintain it for an optimal quality of life.
Right. Exactly. I have actually a recent story. I have a new client last week started with me who is basically we're reversing off of keto, because she was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. And sadly, her doctor said, do the keto diet. You'll be able to lose weight and manage your blood sugar. So she did. And she was able to lose, I believe, about 15 pounds, but her blood sugar is not managed. She actually had to start on another medication. And now she has concerns with cholesterol and high LDL levels. So she said, yeah, I lost 15 pounds, but I gained another chronic disease. And that's where she was very lost and wanted additional help, is because that is what we're really looking for from a dietitian perspective. That first and foremost, I want to make sure that we are addressing any chronic diseases even before weight, right? Like that. And that is possible. There are things that you can do for your behavior that will help with lowering those numbers before maybe you see the loss on the scale. So there are just like so many different things that we are looking to assess from an individual perspective that will set you up for long-term health, even beyond that initial weight loss, if you will. So there's so much more that we could go into this. We could talk about this for hours. I know.
Absolutely.
Let's, as we are closing for today, any last thoughts that you would like to share with individuals for this month of August? We've talked about a lot of different things.
Yeah, we did. I think our first episode of this 2-part series was about sitting with yourself.
Mhm.
And I want to go back to that and circle about that really quick. When you are sitting with yourself, ask yourself, what am I able to do, not just today, but also tomorrow and the days ahead? Look at that longevity. Is extremism something that's going to get you there? Or is incorporating more realism into your plan going to be the key for you?
Love it. Love it. I think that that's a perfect question to end on. I mean, because there's so many things. I'm sure that individuals are just like thinking a lot of different things as it relates to their own journey. But I think that is a wonderful journaling question or driving question or however you think to yourself question to really sit on and say, okay, am I applying that principle or are there things that I need to really get real about? So I love that, Amanda.
For sure. Yeah.
As always, thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited to hear what others think of this podcast.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day-to-day to tune in. If you love today's content, leave me a review letting me know exactly what you liked best. And remember to share my podcast with others to join the Nourish You community. If you want more great content like this between episodes, I encourage you to join my mailing list. You can click the link below in the show notes or check out my website at www.healthwins.org and let's stay in touch. Until next time, I'm Jana. Talk soon.